right, ladies and gentlemen. Dave and Alex.
The Pop 10.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Pop 10 for March 2017. I, of course, am your host, Dave Solo, and I am thrilled once again to be joined by a guest co-host. And this guy is one of my favorite human beings on the planet. Let me just say that first. And I first met him at Heroes and Villains Fan Fest in San Jose, California, where he was a guest, and I moderated his panel, and I think we became best friends that day. So without further ado, my special guest co-host, he is the casting director for some of the biggest shows on the face of the planet right now. I'm talking Arrow, I'm talking Flash, Supergirl, and the brand new Riverdale, which made some of my childhood dreams come true. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, my friend, Mr. David Rapaport.
Hello, hello. I'm so happy to be here, Dave. Thank you so much for having me back.
Thank you. One of my favorite podcasts I'd ever done was my solo sessions with you, and I think you're a phenomenal guy. You're from the coolest city in America. Where are you from again? Boston, Massachusetts, yeah. So it's always a pleasure to have you on, and I know we touched upon it a little bit on the solo sessions. You're a huge fan of pop culture, obviously, you know.
I'm obsessed with pop culture.
Yeah.
It's all I care about, honestly. I grew up loving pop culture, and I love that I'm working on some projects that are a part of it, and I love your appreciation of it and of our shows and of your fans' love for it as well. It's exciting to be a part of something people are talking about, so for sure.
Yeah, and you know, we have a lot of cool topics to discuss on this month's Pop 10, and I cannot wait to get your take on all these things. So without further ado, let's kick off the countdown with number 10.
Number 10.
If you're like me, you love the Black Eyed Peas, and I think the cornerstone of the Black Eyed Peas is will.i.am. You a big Black Eyed Peas fan?
Oh, I am, absolutely.
Is will.i.am your favorite, as he is mine?
Yes, of course.
He's our favorite Black Eyed Pea. Fergie, close second, and I think the other guy's kind of cool too. But so will.i.am is teaming up with Marvel, and he's going to pen a new graphic novel, Masters of the Sun, The Zombie Chronicles. And this is pretty cool because it's the zombie outbreak with an alien invasion. And it's interesting. Sounds interesting. What are your thoughts on that?
Crazy. It sounds kind of genius, though. Is will.i.am going to be involved as a character or just as a writer?
So far, I have just a writer. If he's a character, I think that we might start jumping the shark a little bit on that one. But it's in the ironic part here is Robert Kirkman, when he originally pitched The Walking Dead, he pitched it to get it published as a zombie apocalypse that would end with a alien invasion. So I don't.
Wow.
The originality. I'm not so sure about the originality on this one, but I'm interested to see how it goes. What are your thoughts on? And you work with celebrities way more than I do. So what are your thoughts on when celebrities, people with celebrity, step outside of their realm and jump into something else? Do you think it's too hokey, or are you hopeful?
No, I mean, I think if it's done right with the right intentions, it can certainly work. I mean, I think you have to keep in mind that a lot of these actors that are celebrities come from are artists first. They come from a creative place. They started doodling in their notebooks and drawing cartoons and writing their own comics and acting in school plays and singing and dancing. And so there's a lot more to them than just what we know of them now. I think will.i.am has created such a great brand for himself, and obviously Marvel is such an impressive and creative brand that it seems to make sense that these two might, not necessarily these two would merge, but that creative outlets like that might merge. And I'd just be so curious to see what they come up with together. I'm always for out-of-the-box thinking, and I'm really curious to see what happens with that.
Yeah, you brought up a really, really good point when you brought up brand. Mm-hmm. How important is it in your business especially to create such a larger-than-life brand like will.i.am?
Oh, I mean, it's pretty much everything. I think, especially now, you have to brand yourself online, and really you're selling an idea of who you are, whether it's the way you dress or how you live or what Instagram photos you post. I mean, we're all sort of buying into that, and as a part of a business, it's it sells product, what have you. But I think as a brand, I mean, he's so unique and so dark and so interesting. I think that's what draws me to him as an artist. I think specifically talking about will.i.am,
Yeah.
He's such an amazing artist, but it's also, you take into account visually, how he presents himself, and I think that's what attracts a lot of us to him and to the Black Eyed Peas. I mean, they're so specific, the way they are styled and the way their music videos look. It's you have a sense of sort of what this might look like just based on that. And I think as a consumer myself, I would certainly put down money to see what he might come up with, whether it's a comic book or a clothing line or something,
Right.
because it's such a specific, unique brand, I guess.
Yeah, and that appears, and that was going to be my next question, and you answered it. So, would you be more willing to read this comic in particular because of will.i.am? And I think I would as well. And for me,
I would, yeah, out of curiosity, for sure.
Yeah, and for me, it just reminded me of, and not too long ago, one of my favorite pro wrestlers of all time, CM Punk. After he left wrestling, he started writing the Drax comics for Marvel. And made me instantaneously. I'd never bought a Drax comic in my life, or a Guardians of the Galaxy comic, but I think that there's a method to this marketing madness, I think.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. What was your first comic book, by the way?
First comic book ever that I started reading, and it's funny too because the other side really kept me going. But Batman.
Yeah,
I'm a Marvel guy, but Joker is my favorite villain of all time.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah, but so it was Batman. How about you?
Well, it was Archie Comics, actually.
Hey, what do you know?
My parents read Archie Comics. I read Archie Comics. I had a buttload of Archie Comics. Yeah, but I love Batman as well. But yeah, those are my first.
Yeah, Archie. I loved Archie as well too. I used to get the actual. They had books. They would put them all together in little books.
Oh, sure.
And read those.
Did you have those little ones? Like they were
Yep.
almost pocket size, maybe. I'm thinking like Reader's
Yep.
Digest size.
Yeah. Those are great.
Yep.
And another example too, without getting too in depth, of how it translates into another medium, because Riverdale is just a phenomenal show. So hats off to all of you who have worked so hard on that.
Oh no, thank you. It's I think that's what's cool about it is you sort of you trust a brand like that, and I think you allow creative people to expand upon that. And again, no one here is trying to remake Archie Comics. It's expanding on an idea, which I think is always interesting and fun to sort of see the outcome of that. And I think they've done a really great job with it in this case. So
yeah,
certainly a lot darker than the original, but
that's okay. It's dark times, my friend, dark times. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen. The Black Eyed Peas once asked, "Where is the love?" And the love is coming from Marvel Comics teaming up with will.i.am.
Number 9.
David, one thing I always pride myself on is never being late. I don't like to delay my appearances when I make them. But unfortunately, there are some films, especially a big film franchise right now, that was delayed again. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about Avatar. Were you a big fan of the original?
not at all. This may be completely unpopular, but I'm like, keep delaying it. I'm a huge fan of James Cameron. I enjoyed the first Avatar. I don't know why they're making 2, 3, 4, or 5 more. I don't quite get that. I'll probably go see them. I'm curious to see why they're doing so. But I don't. Tell me, did you love it? Was it one of the best movies you've ever seen?
For me, and I'm sure you can share this too. The experience. It was really touted as one of the first really big IMAX 3D films. Mm-hmm. So when I went and saw it, for me, it was one of those films that the experience kind of enveloped me, and I walked out going, "Wow, that was so cool!" And then a week later, I was like, "I don't think it was that good," And then you see it on TNT or whatever on TV, and you're like, "Wow, this really isn't that good." Mm-hmm. And that's how I felt about it. And I don't. And this doesn't make me excited about any more of them. And like you said, it's delayed from its original Christmas 2018 release due to James Cameron's desire to film 3, 4, and 5 all together. And here's a little quote from Mr. Cameron. This is a quote. we need people to understand. What we need people to understand is that this is a cadence of releases. So we're not making Avatar 2. We're making Avatar 2, 3, 4, and 5. It's an epic undertaking.
Look, it certainly is, and I think it's great that they're doing it. I'm in no rush to go see it. You know, I credit him for really reinventing and doing some really creative, amazing things with film. Obviously, Titanic and Terminator and such. And look, this could totally, you know, blow my mind, and I'm open to that. I just I'm a little more skeptical because the first wasn't such a hit. Right. I think overall, and for me, I just don't understand that. But look, I hope it's a huge success for them, and I hope it's exciting as they're touting it to be.
And me too. I mean, I don't wish any ill on them at all. And you know, giant blue things walking around, I'm sure is a good time somewhere. But for me, and I know you'll agree with me, it's about storytelling. You know, some of my favorite films, come Napoleon Dynamite, Gentlemen Broncos, like these kind of things come to mind. That it probably cost $45 and a pizza and a case of beer. You know,
but I'm more excited for Deadpool 2. I mean, when is that coming out?
That I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of the original.
You weren't?
No, I'm not a huge Deadpool fan overall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and the whole fourth wall thing. And who is rumored to be playing Cable now? Russell Crowe, I heard.
Oh, really interesting.
Yeah, which would be interesting as well. But you're a big Deadpool fan, huh?
Yeah, I thought the first one was really fun. I thought it was really, really fun. Yeah, I just feel like there's so many other movies out there that I'm just curious to see, and sequels.
Yeah.
That I'm curious to watch. Even Godzilla, like I wasn't in love with that first one, but I know that the next one's coming out. It's going to be big, and the Jurassic Park movie. I'd be more excited to rush those up further than Avatar. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Nor to me.
Yeah.
But the Godzilla thing too. You put Bryan Cranston in anything, and I'm buying a ticket.
Oh, absolutely. He's amazing.
Maybe they should put him in Avatar.
Put him in Avatar and I'll go see it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Or Robin Lord Taylor. I need more Robin Lord Taylor in my life.
Yeah, what is he been up to?
He's the Penguin. Yeah. Besides that, I think just being super awesome all the time.
Well, I should find him something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really, really terrific actor. People like that really excite me. That's really why I got into the business. These actors that that wouldn't necessarily be the lead of a film. They're kind of like in the corner actors that really end up stealing the show.
Yeah.
Those character actors I think are fascinating. He's a perfect example of that.
And I totally think what he's done with the Penguin is what Heath Ledger did with the Joker.
Oh, it's genius.
In my opinion. Genius. So if that happens, let me know. I'd like to audition. Like a buddy comedy, myself and Robin Lord Taylor.
That would be great.
It would be interesting.
I'll do a web series together and a comic book together. And
yeah, it could be about dealing with
going to a basketball game or something.
Yeah,
understanding what's happening.
Well, yeah, and
eating lots of food and
dealing with being diagnosed with glaucoma or something like that.
I mean, the struggles.
It's real.
Also, Expendables will be our soundtrack in the background.
Damn.
See, I'm bringing it all around together.
That's
the producer in me.
That's all. See, that's the key to my success is I just surround myself with super awesome, talented people. Yeah, I just show up and get a microphone. And the last piece is something in your wheelhouse. Aquaman was also delayed from October to December, and I think that was more of a strategic move.
Oh, what? I don't know anything about. I mean, I know I'm aware of it. Obviously, I don't know why it was pushed, but I'm curious to see that. It looks really cool. I'm a big Jason Momoa fan, and obviously DC Comics. So
yeah. I love Jason. We've had him at our shows, and he's a great guy. The only thing that got me was in the Justice League trailer when he came out of the ocean as Aquaman and he was drinking a bottle of water. That threw me off. I was just like, is that what you'd be doing with your Aquaman? I don't know. But that's been delayed as well. So I think what we can take out of this is we really don't want to see Avatar, but we're super pumped about Deadpool and Robin Lord Taylor. So.
Absolutely.
Maybe we try to get Robin Lord Taylor in the next Deadpool, and I think we got a winner. All right. But other than that, is there any particular movie or other than Deadpool or movie franchise that you're really into?
Oh, it's a good question. I haven't seen the Batman Lego movie yet. Have you seen that?
I have.
How was it?
It was good. It was good. It's funny. It doesn't really follow the Batman story. Mm-hmm. But Zach Galifianakis was the Joker.
Oh. Interesting.
So I think that's pretty good. Yeah, I highly recommend it. It's a feel good film. But
Check it out.
have you seen? I mean, the Biggie's out right now. Logan and of course Reign of Kong. Yeah, have you seen those?
Hopefully over my vacation I'll catch up on all those. We have one of those theaters out here, the ones where everything shakes and moves. And,
Oh, yeah.
I saw the Kong and Logan trailers in that theater and lost my popcorn within minutes. I mean, seeing those movies in that kind of space it was so loud and like you're vibrating the whole time. And I think if I see them, I'm gonna have to see them in sort of like a sort of static, like non-moving theater,
Right.
Because they seem really, really epic and big and fun. But I've heard the most amazing things about Logan. I'm excited to check that out.
Yeah, I need to check that out ASAP. So, ladies and gentlemen, there it is. Avatar, you're going to have to wait until your kids graduate from high school to see the next one, but I'm sure it'll be phenomenal. But while you're waiting, go check out Logan, rent Deadpool from the old Red Box, and watch Gotham starring Robin Lord Taylor.
Number 8.
Well, my personal favorite thing on the face of the planet is The Legend of Zelda. And we have a brand new Zelda finally. Breath of the Wild was released a few weeks ago as a launch title for the Nintendo Switch console, also out on the Wii U, and it could be the best video game I've ever played in my life. David, have you had a chance to get your hands on this?
I have to after hearing that. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's are you a gamer? Let's start there.
You know, I'm not. I will say I played Zelda on the first iteration of Nintendo, I think, which is probably 20 years ago, so I have a lot of catching up to do, but feel free to guide me here.
Oh, yeah. Well, then, as soon as we're done, you need to, if you can find a Nintendo Switch, grab one, because they're extremely difficult to find, as most launch consoles are. But it's also available on the Wii U, which is pretty easy to find. Okay. And this game is unbelievable. It's the first time I think in Zelda history that we've truly had an open world. There's been open worlds before, but this one is, it's a linear story, but you can perform side quests, you interact with different characters, you can ride horses and hang glide, and it's just phenomenal.
The graphics look insane.
Oh yeah, and everything from the cutscenes to the actual game itself is just amazing. And there's something about these games that are timeless, especially Zelda.
How long can you spend playing a game like this?
I played, and there's going to be a lot of people that know me that listen that are going to give me some flack, I'm sure. But I have to admit that I sat down and I did 6 hours straight one day.
Wow.
6 hours straight, yeah. And I think overall, I'm past 13 hours worth of gameplay right now, and I've just scratched the surface on the depth of this game. Yeah, it's fantastic. Is there any? Do you have a favorite video game of all time?
Of all time, I mean, it would be Super Mario Brothers, I guess. But I'm talking like old school Super Mario Brothers, like the first one. I don't think I played it since, but God, I remember being like locked up in my room playing that all weekend.
And, you can. They have the little NES Classic console. We'll probably get you one. We'll send it to you. Well, you can play.
Really?
Yeah, we can play.
Great.
You hook it up HDMI to your TV, and you can play 30 of the classic Nintendo games, including Zelda, including Super Mario. Yeah,
that's crazy. That'll bring back a lot of memories.
It's pretty rad. Yeah, but this Legend of Zelda, it's breaking all kinds of ratings records. Breath of the Wild, that is. It's getting 9.9s out of 10 from IGM and GameSpot, and it's. I think it's something that the world needs right now. And I think video games are pretty much the best outlet, right, for all the craziness that's happening in reality.
Absolutely.
What do you do to pass the time then? When I know you don't have a lot of free time like me, but when you have free time, it doesn't have to be video games necessarily. But
free time. What is free time?
Right.
It's hard. I used to find a lot of relaxation just watching TV or going to movies, and I think it's a little bit more difficult for me now, being in the business that I am, because
right.
It's just hard to disconnect. I'm always wondering who that actor is, or how do I know that person, or I know who their agent is, or I know too much about them or something. And so I try to spend a little bit more time in nature if I can. I'm going to go to Hawaii next week and get away for a little bit.
Nice.
Because otherwise I'm constantly searching. I mean, that's my job. I'm looking for talent, even if it's voice talent. I'm like terrified now. I'm like, wait, are they going to have actual voices in the Zelda game? Because if I watch it, then I have to start thinking about like who I'm going to cast as the voiceover for the big bad next season on The Flash or something. Right. I don't want that stress hanging over me. I really want to disconnect. But
sure.
That said, I do still love going to the movies when I can. But but I'm going to try and disconnect a little bit. Maybe turn off my phone next week while I'm away, and see if that helps.
I highly recommend it. But
it's hard. It's really, really hard, but
especially with all these great games, and we've talked about mobile games on here before as well. But back to the point of what you do tied into video games. So do you cast any voice acting at all yourself, or do you have colleagues that's primarily what they do?
Well, the post department primarily oversees the voice casting. For instance, on the Flash, there's like Savitar, but I think this season. But we certainly help, and we give ideas, and we kind of come up with names, and we get a general sense of sort of what the character might be. And I think along with post, we help decide what the tone and sound of that character could be. But they really oversee it, and we mostly deal with the on-screen actors. But I think it's a fun thing. I think it adds a lot. And I think we look for real actors to do a lot of these voiceovers as well, especially the villains on Flash and Supergirl and things like that.
And how often is there a crossover? Because one of my best friends in the world, Melissa Hutchison, she's the voice of Clementine in the Telltale Walking Dead games, and she's actually the voice at the top of this show and of all the numbers in this show. And she's really been strictly voice acting. So do you see a crossover of voice actors getting on screen? Because we see actors doing voice work all the time, but have you ever seen that other way around?
Yeah, actually, Amy Pemberton, who was the voice on Legends of Tomorrow, appeared on screen this season.
Nice.
I'm not giving anything away for people who haven't seen it yet, but that was kind of cool because she played the voice of the computer and then was on screen. We had Dan Stevens, who is playing Beast in Beauty and the Beast and is on Legions right now. He was the voice of the computer on our series, The Tomorrow People, and I think had we gone on for a second season, we would have loved to have seen him on screen, but unfortunately we didn't. But I think there's so much opportunity for, especially with these shows with time travel and back and forth, what have you, to potentially see some of these voices appear in the Flash, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but I just watched the documentary, I Know That Voice, all about voice actors. And
cool.
There's a lot of.
I haven't seen that. It's called I Know That Voice.
Yeah, it's absolutely phenomenal. Everyone from June Foray to current voice actors in Cartoon Network shows and whatnot. It's absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, interesting.
I recommend it. I watched it on a plane somewhere. It's like an hour and a half. iTunes, really really good documentary. But there's a whole segment in that documentary about acting is acting. So again, I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you have that same philosophy, whether it's voice acting or screen acting, that it's acting is acting, period?
Yeah, I do, absolutely. I mean, I think it's I don't know too much about voice acting, so I don't want to claim to be an expert on that whatsoever, but I absolutely do. I mean, I think it takes a lot of skill and a lot of training to do it right, and I think some people are kind of born with that talent, some people learn it as well, but I don't know. I'd encourage anyone to kind of play around with it. Actually, you're at Universal in Orlando, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
There was a great. I don't know if it's still there. Tell me, there was a great Hanna-Barbera. I guess it was a show back in the day.
It was a ride.
I learned a lot about voice acting from when I was a kid. I learned a lot about Hollywood from Universal Studios Orlando as a kid, and I was really kind of fascinated by that. They talked about the animation, the cartoons, and obviously and also the voice acting, and ultimately I went more into the on-camera acting part of it, but I am fascinated by it, but my time is limited, so I focus just on the on-camera actors, I guess.
And you're phenomenal at it, so we're just going to keep you there.
Thank you.
But
I'll keep it that.
Yeah, sounds like a plan. But I know the Hanna-Barbera is long gone here, but we'll get you out here.
Yeah, that was a great little thing there.
So many other great things here now, which we'll talk about coming up here in a few. But Breath of the Wild, Zelda, I strongly urge you to check it out, David. Please, because it's the best video game ever made.
Number 7.
Out is an amazing horror film, really kind of redefining the genre. And I know you've seen it, right, David?
I saw it. I loved it. I would highly recommend people go out and see it right away. Really, really terrific storytelling and amazing actors.
Absolutely. So the premise, a young African American man visits his Caucasian girlfriend's family's estate, and learns that many of the residents who are also African American have gone missing, and then he learns the horrible truth when a guy warns him to get out, which is obviously easier said than done. So from Jordan Peele of Key and Peele fame, really, turns the genre on its head a little bit. What were your obviously you enjoyed it, so what were your favorite parts of this film?
Well, I'm a huge fan of Daniel Kaluuya, who is the lead actor. I don't know if you watch Black Mirror. He was in one of the episodes in the first season with Jessica Brown Finley from Downton Abbey, and Black Mirror is just this sort of deeply disturbing modern-day Twilight Zone type anthology series. It's on BBC, and I think you can watch it on Netflix now. And he owns the whole movie. I mean, the entire movie rests on his shoulders, and he's such a phenomenal talent. So I was blown away by him, and also really thrilled to see Catherine Keener back on the big screen. I had not seen her in a movie in a while, and I just think she's such a phenomenal actress, and she has a really kind of terrifying role to play in this movie. Turns out to be really unlikable, but I just thought the whole movie worked really well. It moved really quickly, and it was also really funny. A lot of horror films don't have the sense of humor that this did, and I enjoyed it. It was a great popcorn kind of movie, and it also had a really strong message, and I highly recommend it.
And I think that's what horror has been missing for a long time. My favorite franchise has to be Nightmare on Elm Street.
And, for sure.
Yeah, and I loved how Freddy was funny with in the beginning and the middle without being too over the top, and I think this movie kind of captures that same spirit. What's your favorite horror franchise of all time?
I mean, Scream was my absolute favorite. I watched that movie when I was in film school, and it really seemed to rejuvenate the horror genre at that time. I'm not really big into blood and guts and gore, and I thought it kind of had a nice balance of that with a really intelligent script, and just Wes Craven's just one of my favorites. Always will be. That, and now that I said that, I will say also Halloween was one of my favorite movies, and that was pretty bloody and gory. But,
yeah, a little bit.
Just it scares the ass out of me every time I see it. Really, really terrific film.
Right. And have you, speaking of our love for horror and our love for Universal, have you attended Halloween Horror Nights?
I am so terrified of Halloween Horror Nights. I went a couple of years ago, and it was I've never laughed out loud so hard in my life, but out of fear. And my friends all made fun of me, and they all loved it. I went on one of those mazes. I couldn't make it through. My friends loved it. They all went all night, and I kind of sat outside, and there were these guys running around on rollerblades with like hockey sticks or just scaring the hell out of everybody. And I'm a little queasy when it comes to that stuff, especially when it's live right in front of me. I even get scared walking by the Psycho house on the backlot floor. I mean, that's just me, but those nights are pretty tremendous. I mean, they put so much time and effort into those things. It's incredible. Like, you feel like you're walking into the movie, which is it's terrifying. Do you like those?
That's my favorite thing on the face of the earth. I've done it 12 years in a row here in Orlando.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's phenomenal. Also, we have more content too to get you through a house, and we'll film that as well. But tell us about your experience, because speaking of horror, and we talked about this on Solo Sessions, with Masters of Horror for Showtime.
Oh, I mean, that was incredible. I got to work with some of the most iconic film directors of all time doing this anthology series called Masters of Horror. It was, God, I'm trying to think of who I could talk about, but each episode was sort of its own thing. It was created by Mick Garris, and it was a combination of sort of Black Mirror type, modern horror, and just some blood, guts, and gore. And I got to work with John Landis and do some really, really just sort of creepy, out there horror tales. This was born out of another show. Or actually, it bore another show called Fear Itself, which was on which is on NBC, which is another anthology series that Mick also created. And for someone like myself who is terrified and both excited by horror, it was a really interesting project to do. I mean, looking back on our casting, we had some amazing actors. Anna Kendrick did an episode. Brandon Routh, who I work with on Legends of Tomorrow now, did an episode. Yep. We had Clifton Collins Jr. and Elizabeth Moss, Sherry Appleby, Russell Hornsby,
Norman Reedus.
Incredible talent. And Ron Perlman did an episode. I believe it was of Masters of Horror. I'm not sure if it was Fear itself, but it was. I think it was Masters of Horror. So for me, it was just an opportunity to work with some really incredible directors and incredible actors. It's amazing how many people love horror. Norman Reedus actually did an episode of Masters of Horror.
Yep.
I know you're a big Norman fan.
Love Norman. Norman's the man.
Yeah. So yeah, that was an incredible experience, and that kind of was that led me to do a bunch of horror type films. Actually, I cast The Strangers with Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman, which I thought was a really
phenomenal,
beautiful kind of dark piece. Horror, obviously, as well. I did Final Destination. I did Quarantine, Prom Night, Vacancy. A lot of these. To me, they scared the crap out of me. I don't know how the audience feels, but those are some really fun movies to work on. But I will say, for me personally, when it comes to casting something like that, like The Strangers, for example, it wasn't so much about the blood and guts for me, but it was about sort of the relationship. Here's this beautiful story about a couple who is going through a separation, and just randomly, these masked people knock on their door one night and then terrorize them.
Yeah.
And it seems like it could happen to anyone, and it just is so random and so terrifying. That's what really drew me to that piece, and really telling that story about this couple who was still in love but breaking up and fighting to stay alive together through this really vicious attack. I've really had my hand in horror for a while. I've stepped out of it for a bit for the superhero world, but those were some really fun times and some really good movies.
Would you? And I agree with you. It was one of the top 10 for me easily. Would you go back to horror given the opportunity?
For sure. For the right script, this will sound a little dramatic, but watching a horror movie versus casting a horror movie is a very different experience. You have to imagine, when you're casting a movie, you spend 2 or 3 months casting the movie, and for something like, let's say, Vacancy, for example, I don't know if you remember, but it was Kate Beckinsale and Luke Wilson stuck in this motel, and being hunted by these killers, and they're watching these videos, basically these snuff films, and those snuff films had to be cast by us. Ooh. And so each day in auditions, one day I'm playing the killer, and I'm, attacking these poor innocent people who are screaming and begging for their lives, and the next day I am auditioning the killer, and I'm playing the victim, and I'm screaming for my life while this person's kind of attacking me, and it takes an emotional toll on you, really living in that space. I think going to a movie and sitting through a 2-hour movie and being scared, it brings up your adrenaline, and it's a lot of fun, and you can walk away from it for a little while. But I think, whether you're an actor working on a horror set or you're a casting person and having to play all those roles for a while, it's a little emotionally draining, I will say, if you really take it seriously and get into the mind frame of either an attacker or a victim. So I think I'd like to do one every once in a while, but I certainly welcome doing comedies as well, because I think just mentally it helps balance you out a little bit, at least for me.
Yeah, gives you a break.
Yeah, absolutely.
And my favorite thing about horror is you're going to feel something, regardless of what it is.
For sure.
So there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody get out and go see Get Out right now in theaters near you.
Number 6.
The reggae rock genre is probably my personal favorite. It's a fusion of just that, reggae and rock, and it's absolutely phenomenal. I think the general public really began to fall in love with it with bands like 311, Pepper, and there's a bands that have been out a long time, like Revolution, Iration, and my personal favorite is the Expendables. David, have you listened to this genre? Are you a fan of 311?
I'm a huge fan of 311. Would you say Sublime is in that?
Sublime is in there as well, yeah.
Love that. Yeah, no, I don't know the Expendables, but I gotta check them out.
They're absolutely phenomenal. I was actually privileged to see them not too long ago, back in February, and they have brand new music. They have a new EP coming out in May, but they've released a few songs from it. "Stay Now," which could be one of my favorite songs of all time now, and I Won't Give Up was just released last week for streaming. And the cool thing here is they had fans vote on what they wanted the next single to be. They gave them little snippets and had fans vote.
That's so cool. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, I mean, social media has changed the game pretty much for everything, especially music. And how has social media changed what you do?
It's interesting. I mean, I'm definitely talking to or connecting to a lot of the show's fans on social media. I get a lot of feedback, whether they like certain shows or actors, whatnot, or if they don't like them. And people make a lot of suggestions for certain up and coming casting, which can sometimes be very helpful actually, because you get that immediate feedback. I always say we are reinterpreting the material, so we're not necessarily going to stay as close to the material that everyone grew up with and knows from these comic books. But I always appreciate the fans kind of reaching out and sharing their thoughts. It's also, in a weird way, given me an opportunity to connect with a lot of actors, actually, and learn about a lot of actors, because people are tweeting me their demo reels, or tweeting me about people that they know and like from other shows. And so, like, for example, I didn't know about the Expendables, and I'm going to check them out now. And if someone tweets me about another musician they like, I'll check it out. I pay attention to all that stuff. I think it's a great opportunity to learn about different things I didn't know about before.
So I told you about my favorite band and my favorite genre. What's your go-to for music?
Oh, I just got Sirius XM.
Ooh.
Just got it in my car. So I go back and forth between vinyl music, like from the 70s and stuff, and Howard Stern. That's where I'm at right now. But I'll have to look for some reggae rock. But I like a lot of like ambient music. I haven't gone to a lot of concerts or things like that. But would you say reggae rock is something like you listen to like at a barbecue or on the weekend or something like that?
Yeah, I think the beauty of the genre is it's good for all occasions. There's some bands and there's some songs from these bands that can get you pumped, get adrenaline going, and there are some that you just turn the lights down low and maybe light a couple candles and kind of just hang out. Yeah, just take it easy.
Yeah.
There's some interesting themes that run through the genre as well. That's not why I'm into it, but 311, Sublime was all about that lifestyle too.
Oh, for sure.
And it's more of a...
Yeah, when I just moved out to California, I remember just listening to Sublime in the car constantly, and it really got me in that headspace of being in Southern California. It was a really, really great band.
Yeah, and the Expendables are from Santa Cruz.
Oh, cool.
As well, yeah. So it has that feel. And the beauty, I think, of this genre, too, is you can hear how they've all influenced each other. And it's definitely it's worth a listen. We talked about social media, and we branched off, and that's fine. That's what we do here in the Pop 10. And you mentioned how you can get fan reactions instantly, and this is one thing that I admittedly on Walker Nation, I've on Walker Stalkers, I've been very forthright with that. The criticism, the bad reviews, how does that affect you? And do you try to avoid it? Do you hit it head on? And if so, what does it do to you?
Yeah, it's look, we're all working hard here. You don't get everything right all the time, and you can't please everyone. So I certainly appreciate and understand that people are going to have a difference of opinion. I think for me, I use social media for fun. It's entertainment. I never, ever, ever attack anyone on it. I don't appreciate when people attack me or attack the shows that we're working on. So many things are out of my control or out of my hands, and you take it personally. It's hard because you see one tweet that says you're awesome and I love this casting, and it makes you feel good, and the next one is you suck and what were you thinking, and that makes me feel awful. And I try not to take anything too personally, but again, I'm looking for a community on social media that really supports each other and is on there talking about the shows because they're fans of them. And certainly some of my favorite shows I have issues with as well. And I'm careful about what I put out in the public spectrum, because that can kind of come back to bite you. And so I think if you're fans in general, just keep it positive. I'm not asking to be complimented all the time, but I don't want to publicly call out anyone because of their work. We all, as I said, we all work so hard, and I just try to keep it positive.
Good. Well, then the Expendables are perfect for you because the Expendables
Great. I can't wait to check them out.
always keep it positive. So, ladies and gentlemen, please check them out right now. Streaming right now. So if you have the Apple Music, if you have the Spotify like myself, Stay Now, I Won't Give Up, ready to stream from the Expendables.
Number 5.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is March, and that can only mean one thing. NCAA March Madness. And boy, does this year look fantastic. The top 4 for this year's March Madness bracket will include Villanova, Kansas, UNC, and Gonzaga. I just love the name of Gonzaga, as they were named the number 1 seeds in the 4 regions during selection on Sunday, March 12th. So, big sports guy, David?
No, you know what? I'm not. I grew up in Boston. I'm a fan of my Boston teams, but I don't really follow it. No, I'm more entertainment minded. Film and TV entertainment.
Same here. And I again also from Boston. There's no experience like going to Fenway. You have to go to Fenway.
Oh, it's amazing. It's such a thrill.
And just take it in. That's a whole experience of itself. But March Madness, I have over the course of my professional career participated in some of these little bracket deals. Have you ever jumped in on these?
No, I haven't. No, I'm afraid I'm going to lose too much money.
Yeah, right. Some for
Did you
fun.
ever win?
I did win. I won, and that's a funny story. We did a Yahoo one. There's all kinds of different ways you can do it, and I picked my winners solely based on the mascot. Yeah,
that's genius.
And it took me right to the end.
Wow.
Just because I liked mascots. So, how do you think how would you pick it if you had to pick it?
Blindly, I'd probably just throw a dart, or I'd find someone to do the answers for me, to cheat for me. I wouldn't know where to even begin. Colors or the uniforms?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Colors are good. Like I said, mascots.
But I wouldn't spend a lot of money. I wouldn't trust myself. So.
No. Is there any sport that you gravitate towards more than the other?
Watching?
Yeah, watching, participating in.
No, but I will say I just went to an LA Kings game, and I had the most amazing time because they brought this dessert tray around, and that's all I remember from the whole game. I mean, there was such a spectacle. The game is probably like 75% of it, and the rest is the singers and dancers and the music and the audience and all that fun. And I had a blast overall just watching it, but I wasn't really engaged in the actual game. But and if anyone asked me, I remember the dessert tray they had. I won't go into what they had on it, but you can imagine it was like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and this game's going on in the background, and all I'm focused on is like cakes and cookies and candy and all this stuff, and I had a blast. So
yeah, well, man after my own heart too. Because even when I brought up Fenway, it's Fenway Franks at the game, it's the the sausage guy outside, it's cask and flag,
the food, that's what it is for me, and it's good memories.
Yeah, and I guess that's what we can take out of this is sports brings people together.
Absolutely. It gives you indigestion sometimes.
Indigestion, of course.
Yep.
And, Super Bowl parties, I've attended so many, not just, to watch commercials and to eat good food.
Absolutely.
And there's nothing wrong with
that. Together. I think that's what's important.
Yeah, absolutely. Brings people together. I'm a big soccer fan. I like soccer, football. That's the world sport.
You play?
I played my entire life.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I came from a soccer family where both of my parents coached. And that's kind of what you did. But I think soccer is a great sport. And they should have some kind of... Maybe we do April Madness for soccer. And I'll pick based on mascots there too. But NCAA March Madness, ladies and gentlemen, is going on right now. Hopefully you're holding your brackets tight. I just saw Jason watching it over here. So good luck to everybody out there.
Number 4.
Well, everyone knows the vacation destination is Universal Orlando Resort. And not too long ago, Universal Orlando hosted a select group of New York City media to a cocktail reception to learn more about the brand new attraction, Race Through New York, starring Jimmy Fallon, and all the other super rad things coming to the parks this year. And during the reception, the man himself, Jimmy Fallon, he surprised everybody, and he crashed it, and just got everybody up in arms about what's going down. You're a big theme park guy, right, David?
Huge. And I grew up going to Universal Orlando, coming from Boston, as you did.
Yep.
That was the place to go. I have such great memories from there.
What were your favorite attractions here?
Oh God, I mean E.T. number one was
Still here.
just the absolute best. I loved giving different names when you walk in and E.T. says your name in the middle of the ride. I thought that was always really cool. It was just really nostalgic, and just brought me back to my childhood. I think the coolest ride now for me is probably the Transformers ride. I mean, that's just incredible. Just so state of the art. I was completely blown away by that. And my mom, who doesn't go on any rides ever, I just told her, you have to go on this ride. It's the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like, you feel like you are in the movie.
Yes.
It's unreal. But I'm so jealous that you guys have all these things in Orlando that we don't have in Hollywood here. Like that Jimmy Fallon thing sounds great. I got to get back there to see that.
Absolutely.
We have Hogwarts here. I haven't been to the one here yet, but the one in Orlando was amazing. I took my niece and nephew there, and they were in heaven, and I was kind of in heaven too. And I didn't want to show them how excited I was because I felt kind of geeky. But we had such a great time together. Such a great place.
Was that before Diagon Alley opened? Did you go to just Hogsmeade here in Orlando?
No, I went to Diagon Alley as well.
Oh wow!
I couldn't find it, and then when I finally walked in and discovered it, it's incredible. It's sort of hidden off to the side, and it's really amazing what they do there. And as I mentioned to you before, I mean that's literally where I learned my love for the movies was at Universal Orlando. I mean, I genuinely walking through that backlot area that was Hollywood, and they had the Schwab's Pharmacy, and they had some of the hotels, and I didn't know Hollywood from anything, and I assumed it was going to be as clean as that, which it wasn't, unfortunately. But it really sparked my interest in coming out to Los Angeles and to Hollywood and seeing how things are made and how it's a great fun theme park, obviously, but it also really is educational, and they have I learned a lot about how films were made, and just wanted to get into the business, and here I am actually doing it, which is incredible. And I really never thought that I would be here saying that. I would have been fine just going to the theme park. So it was a really, really special place for me. So
dare we say, without Universal Orlando, we wouldn't have David Rapaport, the casting director? Very possibly. I don't know. It was my first experience actually being on a soundstage too. I don't know if they do that now, but when they filmed, I think it was like Clarissa Explains It All. They filmed a couple things there. We were able to step on the soundstage, and I'd never been on one before, and that really excited me, and that led to me taking a TV production class in high school and going to college where I learned film and TV production, and then coming out to California. So you know what? I will say yes. Nice. There it is. We have it forever and ever captured on audio. And yet, I also think that this is now creating a situation where you have to come here, and then we have to do some video stuff here when you come here. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That would be such a thrill. Well, we should ride a Race Through New York starring Jimmy Fallon together. Let's do it. That's all right. It's okay. We have it, Bob. It's good. It's in the can. So, and also too, the entertainment just in the queue, or while you're waiting to get on this ride, there's the barbershop quartet, the Ragtime Gals are there. Oh, fun. Yeah. Hashtag the Panda comes out, interacts with guests, and does all kinds of funky stuff. And the entertainment has just been, I think, turned all the way up just while you're waiting to get on this attraction now. That's really cool. Yeah, who doesn't want to hear some live singing and hang out with a panda? I love pandas. Who doesn't love pandas? That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Do they still have the horror makeup show? The horror makeup show is still here. It's the longest running show. I love that. There's a phenomenal. It scared me a little bit, but I think I'd be okay with it now. No, you'll be all right now. It's the longest running show here. Wow. And it's I had the honor of standing on that stage last year. I presented Mike Aiello with Walker Nation's Icon Award, and I got to stand on that stage, David. Oh, that's so cool. And speak on that stage. Yeah, beautiful, like Art Deco theater. I remember it. Yeah, the facade of it, at least. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, it's that Pantages Theater. There it is. Bang. Yep. So there we go. Now we have another thing to video over here. So we got to hit Race Through New York starring Jimmy Fallon, horror makeup show, the two Daves. I think we have a new web series. How's it sound? And a comic strip, hopefully. And a comic strip. We're going into business. Yep. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to come here and maybe by chance visit the day that the two Davids are here, go to universalorlando.com right now to book your vacation.
Number 3.
Well, if you're like me, you want to slay vampires, And I think the young lady who taught us all how to do so most effectively was Buffy herself. And Buffy the Vampire Slayer turned 20, and Sci-Fi is throwing a major celebration. Yeah, 20 years, huh?
That is insane. Wow.
Yeah, and this is we're talking about the show featuring starring Sarah Michelle Gellar. And were you a big fan of Buffy?
Oh, the biggest. I love Buffy. I miss it so much. I wish it would come back.
And did you enjoy the movie, or were you strictly a show person?
No, I enjoyed the movie. I mean, I think of them as two completely separate things. I found the movie to be really campy and fun, a little bit cheesy.
Yeah. And
I thought the TV show was actually, like a lot of us said, it was quite dark and obviously more involved. But no, I'm a fan of both of them. But we're celebrating the TV show right now, right?
Yeah, 20 years of the TV show, and the weekend of April 1st and 2nd, Sci-Fi is going to count down the 20 best episodes, or the Pop 20, we'll say, as voted by the fans, and then they're going to be showing every single episode from the series premiere in sequence on weeknights.
Wow, how do you choose the top 20? How many episodes were there? Let's see.
Yeah,
there were a lot.
5 billion, I think was yeah, 20. I mean, there were a lot of episodes of that. And how do you choose the top 20? Do you have favorite episodes that stick out in your mind of the shows that you work on?
Oh, I absolutely do. I mean, for different reasons, both for what it was like to work on them and certain people I worked with, as well as the final outcome of when they air. But I think the coolest thing for me to do is to look back on some of these shows like Buffy and see sort of who played some of these smaller roles. Like, I'm looking through the cast list now, and people like that were on Buffy, like Nathan Fillion did a couple episodes, and Danya Ramirez, and Max Perlich, Azura Sky. I'm not sure the audience would necessarily know a lot of people. I'm sure a lot of you would, like D.B. Woodside.
Yeah.
Eliza Dushku. I mean, obviously she was a huge part of that show, but it's just amazing sort of seeing how far some of these people have come since being on the show. And I like to go back and look at not only who was on some of the shows that I cast, but also who I read or pre-read back in the day, who are stars now. I look back at a movie I did in I think it was probably 2007. It was a comedy, and I was looking through my list the other day. I had Andy Samberg, Jonah Hill, Zac Efron, Kevin Hart all come in to audition for it. And back at that time, that was before Andy was on SNL, before Jonah won an Oscar. And it's just amazing to think sort of where they've come, and at that time, some of the bigger stars of that time, sort of how they've fallen as well, and some of the people that we cast in that movie as opposed to Jonah Hill and Andy Samberg, have not worked since. So it's such a weird game, but it really, it's a walk down memory lane, kind of looking back 20 years on something.
Yeah. And I never really, I'll be honest with you, I was never a huge Buffy fan. Really wasn't my cup of tea. Yeah. It just really wasn't my thing. I think I was still watching Ninja Turtles repeatedly at that time in my life, but which there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
but I mean, I have you here, so we're talking about TV, and that's obviously you cast for television. For those people that don't know what that process is like, if just give us a quick synopsis of what you do and how you do it.
Sure, it's really a numbers game, and it's instinct and trusting your instinct for talent. And basically, every TV show starts out with a pilot. The Buffy show started out with a pilot episode, and the pilot is sort of the studio network getting together, saying, we're not sure if we want to make a series of this yet. We want to do a 1-hour pilot, almost a presentation, just to see what this is going to look like. And if a studio and network pick it up to pilot, then you get about, I would say, 8 to 10 weeks to cast a pilot. And casting a pilot involves, let's say 8 to 10 series regulars, and then every other speaking line. And I would say we see probably, if not 500 to 1,000 people per role.
Wow. And
we look all over the world. We look in Los Angeles, New York, of course, but now because of self-tapes and what have you, we were able to look all over the world. And when I mentioned the numbers game, we're seeing 500 to 1,000 people per role. I narrow that down to about, ultimately, let's say, 20 to 30 people that I show my producers. only one person can get that role, and so through process of elimination, of multiple callback sessions, and taking people to the studio, narrowing it down from, let's say 3 people at the studio to 2 people that then go to the network, then one person to get signed off on. It's a bit of a process, and you have to take into account the essence of a character, who is right for a character based on the script, people's tastes, who is available, who you can afford, an ensemble, reading people opposite each other to make sure that they have chemistry. It's a big puzzle piece, and I think if it works well, you have huge a thing like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which then gets picked up to series, and if you're lucky enough, it gets picked up to a second season, and something like Buffy, which I think went for 7 seasons, is almost an anomaly. There aren't many shows that last that long, if not longer. So there's this, you all hear about pilot season. It's this hectic season that happens pretty much actually year-round now, but most of the network pilots are cast between January and April. The networks make their decisions in early to mid-May, and they announce their fall lineup for the following season at the middle or end of May. And it's this sort of crazy race to the finish line every year, and you have all these casting directors and agents and actors and writers all competing for the same prize just to get a show on air. And if it lasts, as I said, as long as Buffy, I mean, you've won the lottery. It's an amazing sort of thrilling process, but it's a little crazy too.
Yeah. And how often, I know you and I, again, we've been on stages, around the country together, and I recall the story of Stephen Amell being the first guy that you saw. And how often does that happen versus, a long, drawn out laborious one?
It's so rare. That the hard thing though is Stephen was the first person that auditioned for Arrow, as was Melissa Benoist, who auditioned for Supergirl, as was Grant Gustin, who auditioned first for The Flash. I think the tough thing is you bring someone in like that and the producers fall in love with them and say, wow, if that's the first person you showed me, I can't wait to see the second and third and 10th person that you're going to show me. Right. And it's no injustice to these guys. It's just that's part of the process. It's almost like dating. If you're not going to marry the first woman that you meet, I'm assuming. Maybe you did. I don't know. But I think that's part of dating, is you also kind of want to see what else is out there, and you will very likely go back to that first person, or maybe not very likely, but there's a chance that you will. And I think everyone just wants to date a little bit with casting and sort of see what's out there and make sure that they're making the right decision. Yeah. Everyone, always says in dating, don't marry the first person you meet, but sometimes that is the best person for you. Yeah. So it can ultimately be a long process. Even casting Melissa Benoist was a 10-week process, although, again, she was the first person in. There are a lot of people making that creative decision, and they want to feel like you've seen the world, and they want to feel confident that she is the best and the only. And I think everyone feels that way, but it's a process, and I understand that. But it's a little frustrating when I feel personally, I know Melissa's the best. I don't want to see anyone else. Right. She's it. We don't have to see anyone else. And they say, well, we want to go through the process just to make sure. But I think it worked out for her in the end. So absolutely, no complaints. And sometimes, it's like Eric Stoltz in Back to the Future. You think you got the right one, but you need to find a Michael J. Fox. Absolutely. Yeah, that's such a crazy story to me. Yeah, is it right? I mean, they actually filmed it with him and then replaced him. Yeah. Well, sometimes it's not the right fit, right? Yeah. So, Buffy is 20. I'm going to go back now. Since you gave it rave reviews, I'm going to go back and give it a whirl here on Sci-Fi. Give it a whirl. I think it's worth watching. I haven't seen it since it aired. I don't know that it holds up. I'm assuming it does. But it was just again, going back to pop culture, it was a pop culture phenomenon. I remember when Sarah Michelle Gellar was on the cover of Rolling Stone, and at that time you couldn't get bigger than that. And I mean, she's a pop culture icon. That show is as well. And I think there's a lot of fans out there. Yeah. So everybody, please tune in April 1st and 2nd. When Sci-Fi counts down the 20 best episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Number 2.
Lately on the Pop 10, when talking about the web, we've unfortunately jumped into the quicksand of politics. Don't want to do that anymore. David, I'm sure you're as sick of all this politics stuff as I am. Beyond, yep. Yeah, exactly. So what instead we wanted to talk about was this really, really cool site called stripcreator.com. And again, we're not being sponsored by Strip Creator. This is just something that we found really cool and interesting. And
That's great. I'd never seen this before. You told me about it. It looks really fun.
Yeah, BuzzFeed ran a story on it, how addictive it is. It's basically a site that gives you all the tools needed to make your own comic strips. And it's funny, we talked already about comics and about Archie comics and whatnot, and I think a lot of, especially folks our age, are the ones on this site. Not so much all of the younger millennials, but I think there's something to be said about creating, your own material, and this, is the creation generation. So it gives everybody a good outlet.
Exactly, because I'm looking online, and I'm going to try and make one while we're on.
Yeah,
air, but I doubt it's going to happen, so no one gets too excited.
No, if you make one while we're on here, then you send it to me and I'll put it on the website.
Okay, I'll work on that, but I'm just kind of playing around on here, but it looks really cool.
Yeah, it's really, it's step by step. You pick your pictures, you write your own sayings, you write your own stories, and some of them are just 3 panels. It doesn't have to be crazy, and then it just puts it in a little comic strip, and then you share it out on all your social media platforms and whatnot.
That's really cool.
It's like a meme generator, which I'm a huge fan of.
So we have will.i.am doing a graphic novel for Marvel. When is Dave Solo going to do his own graphic novel featuring himself as a character?
You know what? I think if I get a Strip Creator out by the end of the month, I think that'll be a success.
Okay, that's a goal. That's a goal.
That's a goal, yeah. I'm going to give it a Google. And here's the thing. If you do one, then I'll do one, and then we'll put them on the website.
Deal.
Is that a deal?
Give me a little bit more time. I'm behind on such things, but
you're a busy guy.
I'll certainly give it a shot.
Yeah, we want to talk about this because again, what I really wanted to bring up was, you and I are in the same age group. We're both from the same amazing city, and we didn't growing up. We had creative outlets, but for me, it was usually a coloring book and crayons or something like that. And now all of again, the creation generation, they have all these tools at their disposal. So, how do you think? That changes things for creative minds, and then what does it do, or how does it affect your industry?
That's an interesting question. I think, growing up, being an actor was so specific. You went to school, you went to classes, and then you acted. And I don't think there was as much of a blend between being an actor, director, producer, writer. I think there were certain circumstances where you saw that. And now I feel like it's, not only do you have that opportunity to be able to create your own material, to star in your own thing, or write material for your friends, and you get to produce it and direct it, what have you, because the tools are literally right on your phone. I think it's a necessity. I think it's a part of understanding the industry and understanding your part of the industry and how we're all connected is really understanding every single job about it, understanding what goes into casting, what goes into directing, what goes into location scouting, what have you. I think it can be so selfish to think of your position as one and only important position in the making of a film or the making of a television show. And when you have the ability to really become a actor, director, producer, writer, casting director, all of these things, you really get the bigger picture of how these things come together. And so I feel like it's almost lazy now if an actor doesn't take the opportunity to say to their friends, talking about actors, for example, say to their friends in an acting class, let's all get together on the weekend and make a short. There's no reason we have to wait for someone else to bring us material for us to act in. We can write our own material, we can produce it, we can shoot it, what have you. It doesn't have to be for broadcast quality. It doesn't have to be the best thing ever made, but it's just an opportunity to perform, to do what we love to do and kind of spread our wings, so to speak. And I think a lot of the times where I'm searching for talent, I see a lot of people in LA, obviously. I see a lot of people put themselves on tape. But I'm looking everywhere. I'm looking online. I'm looking on YouTube. I'm looking for web series. I'm looking on places like Funny or Die. I'm looking for these creative people who really made an effort, who've gone outside the box creatively to share themselves with me. I'm not with me specifically, but
right.
With their communities. I'm looking for these really unique personalities, and I think the best way to do that is to really create your own material. And again, I think that goes the same for writers or animators or really anybody. I mean, there's no excuse to not put your stuff out on a larger scope now and try all these things. I don't know. I don't mean to assume that I can make a comic, but I'm going to try for fun. I'll put it out there. I think websites like these are really great. I wish I had them growing up because again, I doodled in my notebook as well, and I wouldn't say that I'm an animator by any means, but I think it's a fun opportunity and a fun thing to kind of share with other people, and it gets conversations started and sharing your art with other people. I love it. I think it's an important part of the business now more than ever, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. And passion, I believe, is contagious. So,
absolutely.
And it's how amazing for everybody listening here that you as a casting director, that you look at those things and you look for that creativity.
Absolutely. I look at anything and everything basically, and I'm looking for that passion. I'm looking for someone who is taking a risk, who's putting themselves out there. I think it's so important. We all know the ways to, go to an acting class, see a teacher, what have you, and I'm not knocking that. I think education and acting is the most important thing you can do. But at the same time, we have to think outside the box. Think about all these other ways to not just be seen by people like me, like casting directors, but to really stretch your creativity. And I think that's by creating your own content. And again, going back to this website, something like this that allows you to really, gives you another tool to do so. There's no excuse. I highly encourage it for sure.
So there you go, David Rapaport. Can I call you Dave for the sake of this segment?
Please.
All right. Please. So Dave Rapaport and Dave Solo tell you to check out stripcreator.com, and the person who creates the best comic featuring the two Daves, I just gave you your source material right there, will win a prize from the Pop 10. stripcreator.com. Check it out now.
Number 1.
Here at the Pop 10, we love everything viral, and we've talked about the best in viral videos from Sweet Brown to Kazoo Kid. This one is very, very topical. It just happened, and we had to talk about it because, when last month we discussed with Matthew Lewis, PewDiePie and all the craziness. You heard about that, David, right? PewDiePie?
I did, for sure.
Yeah. For sure. Just, that's the vile side of the internet, in my opinion. But this side of the internet, I think, is absolutely phenomenal. Robert Kelly, so he's an expert on East Asian affairs. He was on air, the live interview for BBC, and then his daughter busts in with the sunglasses, just juking and jiving, and then Junior comes in right behind in the walker, and then his wife just tried to get it all together and get them out of there, and he just sat there. So I take it you've seen this.
Oh, I've seen it about 20 times. I couldn't stop laughing. I thought it was one of the funniest things I've seen in a while.
Poor guy. I mean, I think we've all been in situations like that, whether it be on a conference call or...
for sure. He handled it really well, I thought, though.
He really did.
Yeah.
What would you have done in that situation?
I probably would have... Oh, God, I don't know what I would have done. I mean, that was... Actually, I was thinking, have I ever been in a situation like that on Skype? But my Skypes have never lasted that long. The connection, cuts out really quickly. So I'm almost just impressed that the Skype lasted long enough for him to have the full interview. But I don't know what I would have done. What about you? Have you ever had that with your kids, or...
I've had that happen on conference calls plenty when my kids were babies.
Yeah.
Because my kids now are teens and preteens, so they don't even acknowledge my existence. But yeah, I know, right? But when they were babies, I had that plenty of times on conference calls.
That's really funny.
Yeah, and if it used to, and again, hats off to Mr. Kelly, because I used to freak out.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. I heard a rumor. I don't know if this is true. Maybe it's been debunked since, but that the mom was crouching because she didn't have her pants on. Did you hear that?
I did not.
Pulled them up halfway, and that's why. I mean, she was crouching obviously to be out of the camera sight, but she hadn't fully pulled them on. I don't know if that's true. I don't want to spread a rumor, but I heard that. I thought that was really funny too.
That makes it 10 times better. If she,
exactly. Go back and watch it now and look for it. You'll see.
I'm gonna frame by frame, digitally clean it up, but. The crazy thing about this is, the video is all over YouTube. It hit Facebook videos and the Instagrams and all that stuff. And the BBC, which is such a serious, news source, they're very, very, they take their news very serious. They take their reporting very seriously. But they actually chose to embrace it and run with it. And I think it's great. It's like a first, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. They have a good sense of humor about it. It was a very funny moment, and it was a very, very sweet moment. And in light of a lot of dark times right now, I thought it was a nice moment for all of us to share and laugh about.
Yeah, and he's done interviews since. I mean, he did an interview with his wife and his kids. I saw her, and I think these are the things that make me, like the internet. And I'm a huge YouTube guy. Have you ever fallen down the rabbit hole of YouTube yourself?
Oh, daily.
Daily. Is there anything?
Yeah, sometimes I don't fall asleep because I'm just sort of searching and go from one to the next. But yeah, I like watching things like this. I also, for some reason, like watching people fall. I don't want to see them get injured at all, but compilations of people slipping on ice or something, and as long as I know that they're okay, just takes me out of my daily routine. Don't judge me for that, please. But
no judgment. Because one of my things right now is the compilation videos of cats attacking kids.
Oh, really?
Oh, I love. They come out of nowhere, and they just get you, those kitties. But it's we love everything viral here. The Sweet Browns, like I said, and the Kazoo Kids, and the crazy videos. Are there any viral videos that you will go back to and that you like really enjoyed?
Oh, that's a good one. I have to think about that. This one's been my favorite this week, and I'm trying to think about in the recent history. I wish I could put some of my auditions online, Dave.
Yeah.
There are some funny ones. I mean, some crazy things happen in the room. People, like I said, falling down or forgetting lines or something. And not to make fun of these actors. I mean, it's such a odd process to come into a room and audition. But
Sure.
We do tape everything, and I have to go back and watch everything. And I would never embarrass anyone like that. But there's some crazy stuff that happens that I certainly go back and watch secretly that I wouldn't share with the public. But I get a laugh out of that sometimes.
Do you have a few archived that your go-tos?
Oh, for sure. I thinking back, actually, of a quick anecdote, when we did the Matrix sequels, a lot of people came in doing a lot of they assumed they were going to do their own stunts, which most actors don't in movies, and so a lot of the scenes called for fighting, and some of these people just went for it. And I remember a couple pratfalls and someone knocking over a board at one time and doing handstands and headstands, and it's just it was great. I give them so much credit for really putting themselves out there. But yeah, those will never see the light of day. But I have them in my memory.
Right. I think everybody, no matter what you've done for work, has something like that. I was in my previous life was a store manager for a large consumer electronics retail chain, and I had security video once of one of my employees thinking it would be a good idea to use a wheelie chair to grab something off the top shelf.
Sounds like a disaster.
Yeah, just right over tea kettle, and it was a go-to. We kept that on the hard drive for as long as we possibly could. So viral videos are fantastic. They keep us laughing. So everybody, if you haven't seen it, get out from under that rock that you've been living in, and please give it a Google, as I learned they say in London. Give it a Google. Robert Kelly and Family. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us here on the Pop 10 for March. This was an absolute blast. David, I can't thank you enough for stopping by and hanging out with us.
My pleasure. Always great talking with you. I really appreciate you having me.
Oh, likewise. And, your work continues to speak for itself. Arrow, The Flash, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow, Riverdale. Everybody, if you're not watching this stuff, you need to watch it right now and check out what my good friend David Rapaport is working on. So, again, thanks again. You have to join me again on solo sessions or on Walker Nation if you want to jump on, and we can talk horror or whatever you like.
Let's do it. I'm around. I'd love to join you anytime, and hopefully one time in Orlando as well.
Yeah, that has to happen.
I got to get back to Universal.
Don't we all? I'd live here if I could. Let's be honest.
Me too.
So thanks again, David. Everybody, check us out online at thepop10.com for David's comic strip and more. So again, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next time right here on the Pop 10.